Imagine a world where humans had no cities, no writing, no laws, no organized religion, and no sense of recorded time. People lived in scattered tribes, moving from place to place, hunting and gathering, surviving by instinct and chance. Then, almost like a spark in the darkness, something extraordinary happened in the land between two rivers, the Tigris and the Euphrates. Here, in a fertile crescent of mud and water, the first great experiment of civilization was born. This was Mesopotamia, often called the Cradle of Civilization, the birthplace of cities, writing, laws, and empires. But as much as it gave us, Mesopotamia also left behind deep mysteries, strange echoes in myths, and unsolved puzzles that still haunt historians today. Why did this mighty foundation of human progress suddenly collapse? What secrets lie buried beneath the sands, waiting to be uncovered? And, perhaps most unsettling of all, how much of our own story is still missing? Let's travel back over 5,000 years, to a time when small villages began to gather along the rivers of what we now call Iraq. Imagine standing on the edge of one of those villages, the hot sun blazing down, the muddy river flowing, and farmers guiding crude wooden plows pulled by oxen through the rich, dark soil. Slowly, harvests became more plentiful. Populations grew. Families settled instead of wandering. And from this simple act of staying in one place, civilization began to take shape. But Mesopotamia was not just about farming. It was about ideas. For the first time in human history, people built real cities. Uruk, for example, one of the earliest, wasn't just a collection of huts. It had walls, streets, districts, temples, and thousands of residents. Imagine walking through Uruk at its height. Mud brick houses stacked close together, markets buzzing with traders selling grain, fish, and crafted goods, priests chanting hymns to the gods inside towering temples called ziggurats. At night, the air filled with music, laughter, and the flicker of oil lamps. It must have felt like magic for people who had once known only scattered tribal life. And here's where the first great leap happened: writing. Around 3200 BCE, Sumerians pressed symbols into clay tablets using reed styluses. At first, it was just about keeping track of trade: how many jars of grain, how many goats, how much silver. But soon, this system grew into something more powerful. Words became stories. Stories became epics. And the Epic of Gilgamesh, the world's first great work of literature, was born here. Think about it. The idea that human experience could be captured and preserved forever began with Mesopotamia. But the mysteries run deep. In the Epic of Gilgamesh, written thousands of years before the Bible, there is a story of a great flood that nearly wiped out humanity. A man is chosen by the gods to build a massive boat, fill it with animals, and survive the storm. Sound familiar? Yes, it's astonishingly close to the story of Noah's Ark. How did such a tale exist long before biblical tradition? Was it coincidence, shared cultural memory, or something even stranger? Now picture Mesopotamia not as one empire but as a tapestry of shifting powers. First came the Sumerians, brilliant inventors of writing, wheels, and schools. Then the Akkadians, led by Sargon the Great, who forged the first known empire stretching across vast lands. After them came the Babylonians, with Hammurabi, the king who carved laws into stone declaring an eye for an eye, and setting the stage for justice systems we still use today. Later, the Assyrians rose with military might so fierce they became both feared and hated, ruling vast territories with iron fists. And then Babylon again, under Nebuchadnezzar, dazzling the world with its hanging gardens, one of the wonders of the ancient world. Yet with each rise came a fall. The question that puzzles historians is, why? Why did mighty cities like suddenly empty out? Why did empires collapse almost as quickly as they rose? Some suggest the rivers themselves shifted, cutting off the lifeblood of farming. Others argue it was endless warfare as city-states turned against one another in brutal cycles of conquest. Still, others whisper about disease, famine, and climate change. But the truth is, we don't fully know, and perhaps we never will. Let's pause here. Imagine walking through the ruins of Ur today. Crumbling walls, sand-filled streets, the ziggurat still towering but weathered by time. It's eerily silent. Once, thousands of voices filled this place. Farmers, merchants, priests, children laughing, rulers commanding armies. Now, only the wind. How does such vibrancy disappear? It's a question that lingers, haunting not just archaeologists but anyone curious about the fragility of human achievement. And here's another mystery. Mesopotamian myths traveled. The gods of Sumer and Babylon, like Ishtar, the goddess of love and war, or Enki, the god of wisdom, echo in later cultures. Even the Greek gods show similarities, as if the stories migrated across time and space. Could it be that Mesopotamia was not just the cradle of civilization, but also the seedbed of mythologies that shaped half the world? Think about this. We often credit the Greeks with democracy, philosophy, and science. But Mesopotamia had schools where students copied texts, studied math, and learned astronomy long before Socrates or Plato. They charted the stars, predicted eclipses, and divided hours into 60 minutes. Even your wristwatch today carries their legacy. How astonishing is it that something invented 5,000 years ago still ticks in your daily life? And yet, for centuries, all of this was forgotten. When Babylon finally fell, when the last Assyrian fortress crumbled, when the names of Sumer and Akkad faded into dust, the memory of these civilizations vanished. For nearly 2,000 years, no one knew who had built those ruins. To medieval travelers, the crumbling towers in the desert were just mysteries with no name. It wasn't until the 19th century, when archaeologists dug into the sands, that the lost world of Mesopotamia was rediscovered. Imagine that, an entire civilization erased from memory, only to be pieced together by fragments of clay tablets and broken walls. And here's something chilling. Even today, countless tablets remain untranslated, sitting in museums and storage rooms around the world. Each one could hold stories, laws, prayers, or records that change our understanding of history. What if the next great discovery is still hidden in plain sight? Now, let's step into daily life in Mesopotamia. Picture yourself waking up in a small mud brick home. The air smells of baked bread as your family prepares breakfast. Men head out to tend fields or trade goods in the marketplace. Women weave cloth, manage the home, or even run businesses. Children attend the world's first schools, learning to press cuneiform into clay. Religion dominates daily routine. Priests interpret omens, sacrifices are offered to the gods, and ziggurats rise above the skyline as stairways to heaven. At night, people gather to hear stories, their myths, their gods, their heroes. But even here, mysteries creep in. Why did Mesopotamians believe so strongly in fate and the afterlife as a dark, shadowy place? Unlike the Egyptians, who dreamed of paradise after death, Mesopotamians imagined an underworld of dust and silence. Did this reflect their harsh environment, where rivers could flood unpredictably and drought could strike at any time? Was their religion shaped by fear of forces they could not control? One of the most fascinating puzzles is how advanced they were, yet how fragile their world turned out to be. They invented so much: writing, laws, wheels, schools, even beer brewing. Yet they could not prevent collapse. Could that be a warning for us today? That even the most advanced societies can crumble if they neglect balance with nature, if they overextend in war, or if they forget the fragility of their foundations. Now, here's a thought. What if many more civilizations existed before Mesopotamia, but left no written records? Could Mesopotamia just be the first we know about because they invented writing? It's possible that older cultures rose and fell in silence, erased without a trace. Mesopotamia may not have been the absolute first civilization, but it was the first to leave us a voice across time, and that voice still speaks through every tablet, every ruin, every myth. So we come back to the questions. Why did Mesopotamia, the world's first great experiment in civilization, collapse? Was it the rivers shifting, famine, invaders, disease, or all of the above? Or is there still a missing piece of the puzzle we haven't uncovered yet? Could some hidden chamber beneath a ziggurat, or some lost cache of tablets, reveal secrets that rewrite history once again? The beauty and the frustration of history is that it gives us fragments, but not the whole picture. It gives us whispers of gods, kings, battles, and laws, but it leaves us with endless gaps. And those gaps are where our imagination must step in. So, what do you think? Was Mesopotamia's fall simply the natural cycle of rise and decline, or was something stranger at work? Do we truly know enough to say with confidence, or are the sands of time still guarding their secrets? Thank you for joining us on this journey through Mesopotamia, the cradle of civilization, the birthplace of writing, the land of gods and kings, but also one of the greatest mysteries of human history. If you found this exploration fascinating, please like this video, subscribe to Beyond Ancient Walls, and hit the bell so you never miss our next dive into the mysteries of the past.